Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, we are now ready for FM18. And with that in mind, we're going to be doing a few guides for tactics. And I will give you some tips on how you can set up different kinds of tactics, starting with the 4-2-3-1. On today's show, we're going to take a closer look at the 4-2-3-1, and we're going to give you two variants of the 4-2-3-1 that you can use within FM18. One of these variants will include the use of a segundo volante. Now, the segundo volante is a defensive midfielder who's fairly aggressive, gets forward, and he plays from a deeper position. And it's actually quite a good, cool role to use with a 4-2-3-1, especially if you're a side that is not one of the top clubs in the land. So, what I normally do, if you followed my shows in FM17, you would have noticed me using a deep narrow 4-2-3-1. Here we have a deep wide 4-2-3-1, which uses two defensive midfielders. We have a deep line playmaker on support and a volante. Now the volante will get forward to lend support to the four who are attacking. The wing back is waiting to overlap. The inside forward, I've specifically chosen a player who's already got the player trait, cuts inside from left wing and runs with the ball often. This guy is going to dribble, hold up the ball, and create all kinds of havoc on this area of the pitch. And on the right flank, we have a winger who loves to run down the ball with the right. So we're going to get some width coming from this flank. This will allow us to get certain styles of football possible. If the ball gets to the left, there'll be a bit of patience in this area of the pitch. The volante will come up, either the volante or the attacking midfielder. If I choose to, I could also turn him into a playmaker. Between them, they will use the runs of the inside forward. Inside forward will drag players to him, releasing the wing back, who can overlap down the flank and deal with the cross. This will be great when we are camping or if we're building up attacks. Finally, if we are defending deep, we also have a winger on attack who is going to be exploring options on the right flank. Now, this is great against teams who are going to be pinning us back. This will give us an outlet if we need to hit them on the break really quickly. In such a case, I'll be looking very closely at the AI formation because I might change this role to an advanced forward. Now, let's go through all the roles and discuss which roles can be modified. We're going to start with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is going to be given a sweeper keeper on defend duty. However, we're using a sweeper keeper with one express. We want him to distribute to the fullbacks and take short kicks. However, if you have a goalkeeper with good vision, you can remove this option. Our goalkeeper has got vision of 11. Against some sides who pin us back, the goalkeeper can launch quick counter attacks. That's why I'm using a sweeper keeper. He can look for players in dangerous areas and he can launch the ball into space. That's what a sweeper keeper is capable of doing. So we can use a sweeper keeper because this primarily is a tactic that is defensive. However, it can be extremely attacking as well. And it's got to do with the mentality that you choose and the way you shape. On the left flank, we've got a wing back on attack who's been told to keep it short. We don't want him to give up possession too easily, but we are only going to ask him to play short passes. We've got two central defenders and we've got a fullback on support who's also been told to pass it short. On the wings, with this fullback, we also want him to pass it shorter and play with few risky passes. This will allow us to funnel as much of the game through our three midfielders here. In midfield, we've got a DLP on support who's been told to close down more. We've got a segundo volante and we're telling him not to dribble less. If the segundo volante has the player trait 1-2 passes, will be ideal. If he has dictates tempo and likes to play long range passes, he'll be perfect. But at the moment, we've got this player called Naves who shoots from distance and only has dictates tempo, which we'll have to do for this player. So the attributes that we require for some of the players will be covered very soon. In the center of the attacking midfield, we've got an attacking midfielder whose goal is to drop a slightly deeper. Now, he's going to link up with the other three. He's going to link up with the other two midfielders at the back. He has plays short, simple passes and comes deep to get the ball, and he'll look for pass rather than attempting to score, which is kind of cool. Because of his player trait, we can actually ask him to go attack. Now, that player trait that he has comes deep to get the ball If you have a player who doesn't have come deep to get the ball, then use AM support. If you have a player that comes deep to get the ball, then you can afford to use an AM attack, because the whole idea of having him on support is so that he can work closely with the guys at the back, the two boys in midfield. On the left flank, we have an inside forward. We've told him to close down more. On the right flank, we have a winger on attack, and we've told him to close down more as well. The attacking midfielder in the middle has been told to move into channels. This is an extremely important instruction. And if you have the correct player, you want to use somebody who has better off the ball than mine. Up top, we are using a trequartista. The reason why I'm using a trequartista is because we want this player to drop deep, and we want him to get further forward when he does get the chance to attack. The trequartista is a fairly interesting role because he does a lot of movement off the ball, and you want this role to be filled with a player who's got very good off the ball acceleration, pace, first touch, dribbling, passing, and vision. This is a player that is going to be moving around the pitch looking for opportunities to play other people in, but he can also be the tip of the spear. As far as attributes are concerned, you want to make sure that your defenders have got good positioning, anticipation, and concentration. One of them has to have good jumping reach and tackling as well. On the flanks, we want the wing-back on attack to have good crossing and dribbling. We also want him to have passing, decisions, and we need him to have decent first touch. In terms of attack, if we are using him with an attack duty, he also needs good off the ball. The fullback on support on the right flank does not need off the ball as much as the full wingback on the left. The fullback on support still will need good positioning. He needs tackling, marking, and he should also have acceleration in his kit of skills. Up top, the AM on attack. Now, if you have a player trait where he comes deep to get the ball, then you can play him as an attacking midfielder on support. But this player, he has to have passing decisions off the ball. And all four players, basically any player you want attacking, has to have off the ball. The inverted wingback and the winger both need acceleration and off the ball. The inside forward is going to be cutting inside. He needs good balance as well so that the players don't jostle him off the ball, and he can hold up the ball long enough to give it to the volante, and the volante can play it out to the wingback on attack. The wingback on attack will then cross the ball, and he'll be looking for either the trequartista or the winger on attack. We are certainly trying to come up with some interesting configurations here. So these are just the play instructions that we're going to start with. In terms of team instructions, we're looking at using these team instructions. We're looking at compressing the space in which the AI can play. Because we're using two defensive midfielders, we can afford to play slightly higher. We also want to use the offside trap. This compresses the usable space. It makes the space a bit more shallower. But when we do this, we only can play on flexible and structured. The moment we go fluid, we're going to drop the defensive line by one notch. We're also playing balance at the start. But if you want to stretch a team and you want to get your wingers involved, then you will have to go up to fairly wide. The closing down instructions are default. Passing directness is default. We also have added roam from positions and work ball into box. We are not going to be playing out of defense, nor are we playing pass into space. Play out of defense is instructions that's going to slow down our transitions. Because most of these sides are better than us, we want to hit them on the break. We want to be able to move the ball quickly from defense into attack. Now, if you want to hold on to possession, then that's a different story. Then you can play out of defense and work ball into box altogether. Now, this is a setup where I would be looking at trying to control possession of the game, and I want to measure all my chances. This is a consolidation kind of a tactic. It will look to defend well, but be measured in the way we attack. However, if you want a slightly more attacking variation of this tactic, you can do several things. You can go to a more fluid shape. You can drop the defensive line. You can go fairly wide. You can work ball into box, play our defense. But in this particular case, I will remove roam from positions if I was playing a bit more fluid. Since the 4-2-3-1 can sometimes be susceptible defensively, I've listed out key attributes that are needed for defense and support duties for this tactic. Use these to filter through your team so that you can decide who should be playing for you on the day. The team instructions I'm using with this version of the 4-2-3-1 is to allow me to keep the ball a bit more effectively. But if I wanted to hit teams harder and faster through the transitions, I probably drop the shape down to flex structured and remove the play out the defense team instruction. Naturally, you have other versions of the 4-2-3-1. Well, the first tactic is good for teams that are better than you. And what if you just want to take the game to an AI? What if they are playing defensively and you need something extra from your 4-2-3-1? Well, we have one here too. So this version of the 4-2-3-1 is almost the same as the first version, except we push the two defensive midfielders into central midfield. So we're not so defensive anymore. And the instructions are still the same at the back, still using a wing back, still using these two central defenders, telling the fullback to do the same things he was doing before. We have a sweeper keeper doing the same things he was doing before. But here, we get a chance to use the Carrirello. Yes, this is a shuttler. I love this role. Why? Imagine you want a player to focus on this zone, this zone, this zone, and this zone. Basically, you want him to take care of the flanks, which are these four little squares over here, right? So his job is to take care of an area. Then in previous editions of the game, we had to play with a central midfielder support. We make all kinds of tweaks to it, right? So keep it simple. But now we have the Carrirello. It's a great role in the game, and you usually want to go and look for players who can fit this role. But what you will look for primarily for a Carrirello will definitely be work rate. You need somebody with work rate, tackling, decisions, anticipation. This is going to be the important attributes or the key attributes of the Carrirello. This player will have to make the right decision as to whether or not to go up, to go to the left and protect the area. And he definitely needs some strength. He has to be able to control and dominate that area of the pitch. I've added close down more as well for the Carrirello, and I've got a player called Ndai playing here, and he doesn't have attributes that are too bad. He's got like tackling 14, work rate is 14. As you can see, decisions are also fairly important for the Carrirello. Anticipation is always great, but I'm going to add this category. Every support duty that in a 4-2-3-1 absolutely needs positioning. There's no two ways about it. If they don't have good positioning, do not use them. That's as simple as it goes. If you decide to play with a DLP who can't tackle and has got average positioning, and that flank is going to open up. The fact of the matter is the 4-2-3-1 really only has two players in midfield. So what we are trying to do here is this tactic is slightly different because you have to remember that this AM Price, the player I'm using here, has the comes deep to get the ball player trait. So I know that he's always going to give these guys support. So we're going to get a 3 in midfield. So when we move, we only have that one guy pushing up into that space. Now it's unlike the another 4-3-3, which has got a DM, and then you've got two guys shuttling up and down. This has got one guy. So this AM is very important. The Carrirello is also very important. And we have a deep line playmaker on support who no PIs. We keep things simple here. Wing on attack, close down more. AM on attack, move into channels. No two ways about it. I want him to work with the DLF on support. Then we've got inside forward on support who's got close down more. And we also have a DLF on support up top. Does nothing else. Just does that basic stuff. So those are going to be the player instructions for those players. What about the team instructions? Work ball into box, play wider, use offside trap, and prevent short goalkeeper distribution. The reason why I'm using the offside trap, and this is important, it's because I want to squeeze the playable area on the pitch. If a player on control instruction can afford to squeeze it even more by pushing the defensive line up. However, when I do that, I have to remember that I can't raise my shape beyond fluid, because then it becomes too compressed and it's going to be very easy for my players to be caught out of position. The balls are going to go over the top, my defenders are going to be caught out. So I like to play on the lower shape settings, and then if I need to, I raise the shape settings. So if I want to take more risks in the game, I might go control structured, control flexible, or control structured and then attacking structured. And then if I want to throw more players into a transition, then I'll go flexible. And if I want to go fluid, then I may drop the defensive line a bit, because to compensate, if I'm going to throw more players up into attack, then I don't want to squeeze so much I don't want to squeeze the playable area for my team. I don't want the defensive line pushing up too high. I want it to drop back a bit, and if the ball goes over the top, then my defenders aren't too far from goal. So the other play team instructions in this is going to be fairly wide because we want to encourage the ball to go down the flanks. We also want to use the work ball into box instruction. I am not using play out of defense, nor am I using pass into space here because I want my transitions to be a bit faster. What if we've taken the lead, right, and we want to control possession? Then I may play out of defense. If I find that I'm playing against a stubborn side and they just don't want to be opened up, then control. If I want to have a low risk strategy, control structured, roam from positions. Yes, I keep the transitions the same. I mean, I don't overcommit my players, roam from positions. Now, if I find that I need to take more risks, then I go attacking, structured, take off the roam from positions. If you want to put it back on, I'll put it back on. But here again, shape is just a matter of getting more players in the transition. The more players go into transition, the more I have to think about where my defensive line is. So the moment I push my defensive line, my shape up, I start looking at my defensive line extremely closely because I could get hit on my ass by something. So, so those very simple. These are two versions of the 4-2-3-1. I use this sometimes when I'm at home against teams, but I'm managing Wolves right now, and we've had some good matches with the 4-1. I love the 4-2-3-1. The FM17. FM17, I enjoyed the 4-3-1-2, which is my favorite tactic, of course. But I do like the 4-2-3-1. One of the reasons why I like the 4-2-3-1 is because I can use the Segundo Volante and the Carrirello. Yes, so it's kind of fun. And I hope you found this video useful. And if you have any questions or you want any other videos like this to be done, just drop me just drop me a comment below and let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for the continued support of this channel. If you have any questions, you know how to find me. You guys take care, have a good one. I'll catch up with you soon. Bye bye.